Hello, listeners. This is Lee Price.
This is Will Ford from Football 365.
And you're listening smartly to At the Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast, although I would describe it as the Chelsea FC podcast.
Magical from Eden Hazard. Kai Havertz in the Champions League final. Ivanovic! In the middle, it's just behind him. But it's tapped in by Hakim Ziyech. Matic with the ball driver. Matic takes the net off.
It's time for another episode of At the Bridge Pod, your number one Chelsea FC podcast. Coming up on this episode.
On this episode, we're going to be taking a look at what has happened to Raheem Sterling. Oh, welcome back everyone to another episode of At the Bridge Pod. I'm joined in the virtual room filled with lions, filled with one lion. One lion, I've caught one. I've got Chris, and I'm happy with that. I'm very happy. The Thursday show, this is why Chris is here. It's Thursday. And Chris, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
So I don't think there's a lot going on. I've got my son all day Sunday because my wife and daughter are going to London. So, hoping to get a game this weekend actually played. Like, we haven't had that much rain in the UK, where we are.
That is true. That is true.
So I'm really hoping to play a game. That would be my highlight of the weekend if I actually get to kick a ball again. Aside from that, not a lot. I probably will watch the England game because I don't think Brazil is a bad friendly. To be fair,
I mean,
it's better than playing someone like, I don't know.
Careful where you go with this. You could upset someone. You could.
Yeah, so someone ranked really low in the world where you just think, what's the point of that? Like Austria.
I don't know where they are in the rankings.
No, I don't know where they are, but I remember we played a friendly against them like a couple of years ago, and it was absolutely awful. And you just thought, what is the point of this? At least the friendlies, I think it's Brazil and Belgium, isn't it? I think the England games, they're not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, for me, I mean, football-wise, I am looking forward to watching Denmark take on Switzerland. But other than that, bit of a quiet weekend. I'm doing an Ollie. It's a bit of a quiet weekend.
Yeah.
I'm actually saying that. I might catch up on season 2 of Halo because I've been told that's quite good. So that might be the plan. But
our listeners at this point must think, fucking hell, these are boring people.
Yeah, but they've got timestamps. They can hit the timestamps. That's the thing.
True.
That's what it's all about. If the listeners really, really want to deep dive, what am I doing tomorrow? Well, work, because jobs, and CrossFit, because that's what I do. So there you go, listeners. If you like CrossFit, let me know in the Discord. And if you don't, You've probably already skipped this because you've hit the timestamps, and that is smart. So naturally, the next timestamp is the news. Elevator of Chelsea news time. LAFC are in advanced talks with former Blue Olivier Giroud. Chelsea will play Wrexham, Celtic, Club America, Man City and Real Madrid in their pre-season tour of the USA this summer. Chelsea are facing a legal request to provide details of historic deals during the Abramovich era. Hazard will return to Stamford Bridge to play in Soccer Aid 2024. And finally, everyone is getting a point deduction apart from City and Chelsea, and everyone is livid about it. Oh, well, I do feel sorry for Leicester. They're getting a point deduction for not even being in the Premier League by the Premier League. Fuck knows what they're doing with that.
So stupid.
It is. I've got to do this. I've got to guide our attention to a topic that's actually, this is important to me, and that is the recent Chelsea supporters trust letter to the club, and the response that the CEO Chris Jurasek gave back. It's pretty lame, if I'm honest. His response was, anyone out the loop? There was a 1,500 word letter sent to Bowley and Igbali earlier this month, and essentially the supporters trust stressed that there's an urgent requirement to engage with the actual wider fan base, and they set out a host of issues, which include fast-growing lack of trust towards the board, the feeling that the club's becoming a laughingstock, broken pledges on pricing, a failure of existing supporter engagement mechanisms, and obviously then there was the threat of protests. Well, the response letter from the club CEO was just pure fucking waffle. I mean, it's something it kind of read like ChatGPT came up with it after you've like gone generate a response to this letter prompt, you know. I mean, ignoring Chelsea supporters isn't an oversight, in my opinion. It's a deliberate decision by the ownership. And improving communication with the fan base should be an absolute priority for this board. And it shouldn't just be something to be disregarded, you know. And we as a club and fan base are not alone in feeling this way either, because just take a look at Strasbourg, how their fans feel. I mean, those protests from the Strasbourg, that the fan base are partly due to Blueco's promise during the purchase to actually meet with the supporters trust regularly, because I did a bit of research on this. They've not met with them a single time, not even after the takeover. No one directly from the club or from Blueco has met with them, despite multiple calls for them to honour that promise. That really annoys me, because, you know, this football club, and of course Strasbourg, to the Strasbourg fans, it means so much to so many, you know. And for Chelsea, look, the supporters in the UK, across the globe, you know, each one deserves respect. They deserve care and love from this ownership, any ownership, because at the end of the day, without the fans, a club is not a club, you know. And look, I guess I can forget about some of our awful performances, some of the dreadful periods of form we've seen. One thing I can't forget is how the owners of this club right now, that we talk about on a weekly basis, that we all support, or obviously even Ollie and Berth, who aren't here tonight, that we love, are just being disregarded. And it's the people that make Chelsea. I'm passionate about it because it's annoying, and seeing it as well with Strasbourg, it's like, what are they doing? I don't know how you've taken it this week, really, Chris.
I do agree. I agree with everything you just said, but this is going to become more of the norm in football, I think, with the influx now of foreign investors into English football clubs. And I think it comes from a bit like what we said about the players before. Like, fans have to understand that not all players are fans of that club, so they don't feel as strongly about it as supporters do. And owners are the same. Like, you get some really good ones, like Abramovich, for example, who really brought into it being his club, and he always felt like one of us, didn't he? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But then you look around and you see other owners in the Premier League, not just ours, and it's similar. It's very similar. You know, there's always discontent between Arsenal fans and their owners, Liverpool fans and their owners. United, probably the most famous for the disconnect between their fans and the owners. It's becoming more of the norm. So we're not one on our own. It doesn't make it right, but I don't think it's something that's going to change. And the only way they'll get away with it is by improving performances on the pitch. Because the reality is, and we've all seen it at Man United over the last, God knows how long, 5+ years, they only start moaning about the owners when they're losing. As soon as they're winning, no one says anything. And that's the issue. That's where the real issue comes from. That obviously the fans, us as fans, we've been disappointed with how this season's gone from where the expectation was in the summer. And I think that's why this is at the forefront of everyone's mind now, because on the pitch it's not going as well as we all expected it to. And the finger's got a point somewhere, and you know, the players, the manager, and all of that is getting its fair share of flack as well. But the owners are the ones who are really falling on their sword here, mainly because I think as well, none of us understand what they're trying to do. And I think that's where the biggest thing to come out of this for me was their lack of willingness to communicate. Like, if you told us what
communication is the problem.
If you told us what you're trying to do and why you're doing these things, then there'll still be people who disagree, but at least we have a reason then. But to sort of shut yourself off completely is really a strange approach from an ownership where it's not like owning any other business, owning a football club.
Correct.
It's completely unique. And I think they haven't quite understood that yet.
No, you spot on, and you've got to engage with the supporters' trust. I mean, they're there because they care about the club, but and this isn't what I think. What's also more concerning is the fact that this isn't a Chelsea exclusive problem with Blueco. It's look at Strasbourg. They've promised them and then they haven't, and it's not good to go back on promises.
They are a bit like politicians during an election campaign. They promise you the world and then give you fuck all, and that's the reality.
Argue.
And to be fair, when they was taking us over and everything they were saying was so good, it was so much what the fans wanted to hear, that we should have expected then that this isn't, they're not going to come true on all those promises, because it did seem very much like a sort of election campaigning. Let us be your owners because we're going to do this and this, and we're going to make the club the best in the world, and we're going to win the Champions League in 2 years' time. And it's like, well, you've lied on all of that, because it's like the stadium thing, isn't it? They've that's sort of dragging its feet now. There's been so many different ideas. They was going to do one thing and then they was going to do something else, and now are they going to do anything at all? It's not a good look. And no. The only way I see this getting any better is if we have success on the pitch, because then supporters, let's face it, we only truly care about what's happening on the pitch, and then we worry about everything else later. And if we started to have some success, and I'm sure it would die down a bit, but at the minute you can't get away from the fact that it's not a good look for them.
No, 100%. And I'm sure this will go on and on and on. This won't be the first or the last we hear about it. First, this won't be the only time we hear about it even. But we have a midweek game, some positive news. That's a spoiler, but match report first as we head to Amsterdam. In their first ever encounter in the Champions League, both Ajax and Chelsea enter the match in solid domestic form. Ajax, despite their debut at this stage, navigated a quite challenging group and maintained a perfect home record. Following, though, Chelsea's dominant display against Arsenal in that London derby, Emma Hayes opted for an unchanged lineup with no returning players from the injury list as well. Aware of the significance of experience in this competition, Emma emphasised her side's familiarity, playing in front of quite a large crowd at the Johan Cruyff Arena, and it just added to that sense of occasion, I feel, for the game and for Ajax as well. Ajax were the team that started brightly. They came close to scoring within the first 10 minutes, with Grant's effort hitting the post. However, VAR played a positive role when they awarded us the opener. It was initially ruled offside, but it later confirmed on, and Lauren James with the goal. Literally, Ajax stopped playing. That's what we can say. There was, when they say play to the whistle, probably should have, but they really just went, nope, not playing at all. And that's what happens. VAR helped us out. Ajax's efforts, though, they were decent, but we doubled our lead before the half. Nushkin finding the net following a bit of a defensive mix-up for Ajax. Ajax sort of raised their tempo, I'd say, in the second half. But realistically, Hannah Hampton remained pretty much untested in the goal. We continued our threat going forward, and of course, we did. We scored again. Nushkin grabbed her second goal after a well-placed cross from Macario. 3-0, very convincing. Second leg, hopefully, we complete the job. Ajax 0, Chelsea 3 goals, a clean sheet, and Writing Cannerid with one not safe for work nutmeg. Check it out if you haven't. It's incredible. I still have that on the highlight reel on repeat. It's so good. What a performance yet again. Chris, what can we say? Away from home, Amsterdam is a hard place to go when it comes to Ajax. Even we know how difficult it can be playing against these top elite teams, and wow, 3-0. What did you think?
I think if you want to sum the performance up, it's Kadisha Buchanan doing a Cruyff turn in the Johan Cruyff Arena.
Oh yeah,
that's how impressive the performance was. This team just continues to amaze you every week, every game. no matter what the circumstances, they just seem to get the job done. They have such a nous about them of how to get results when it really matters. And it's not even based on individual performances anymore. That's such a collective, this group, that we're not reliant on one player. Lauren James can have an off day and someone else will step up.
Yeah.
Wrighton can have an off day and someone else will step up, and the defense can be poor, so the attack will score more, or the attack can be poor, so the defense will keep a clean sheet. They just seem to complement each other so well. It's the perfect example of how a team should work.
Yeah, I've got to touch on. You said Lauren James. I love how Ajax genuinely played to the whistle, but and it's like, yeah, that didn't. I have learned when now VAR exists, do not play to the whistle when you've got an attack like it's not worth it, because if it goes south, you look foolish. And what happened? 1-0 down because you played to the whistle. I mean, you said about Buchanan. She was here on Monday's pod. She never left. Kadisa Buchanan, you are loving the Stat Drop Club, because her game against Ajax, by the numbers, were 90 minutes played, 42 accurate passes, 65 touches, 6 passes into the final third, 2 of 2 accurate long balls, 2 blocks, 4 clearances, 4 interceptions, 9 recoveries, 3 ground duels won, 7 aerial duels won, and that Cruyff turn. I mean, wow, what an absolute game.
The thing is, obviously, all the players in this squad deserve a lot of credit for how they play and how they perform, and how they don't let a run of poor form affect them. They can play poorly for a few games, and then they just seem to turn a switch and come back in and look like a completely different player. Yeah. I think Emma Hayes deserves so much credit, though. I don't think we'll truly appreciate it until the next season when she's not here. She manages this group so well, because there was a stage a few weeks ago where Buchanan wasn't playing that well. Just before Bjorn come in, she wasn't playing that well. She was in and out the team. We was looking for that right balance at the back, and although she was playing okay, she wasn't performing to the standard that we know that she can. Then Bjorn come in and almost took her place almost instantly and performed really well. And you think, okay, what's going to happen here now? Buchanan's a big name player.
Oh yeah.
She's not someone who's just going to take that lightly, and she could have sat around and sulked, and she hasn't. She's obviously got her head down and worked hard, and then Bjorn's got this injury. But Hayes took her out the fire. She has this real knack, Emma Hayes, I think, of when she recognises when a player's playing badly, or even when they're about to start a poor run of form, she takes them out the firing line. She doesn't let it snowball into something where they're going to get loads of criticism for it. She seems to take them out for a couple of games, let them reset, and then throws them back in, and they come back in and perform like Buchanan does. But it's happened with numerous players this season where they've had a couple of off games and you think, oh, this doesn't look good. And then all of a sudden you don't see them for 2 weeks and you think, oh, okay. And then they come back in and you're like, wow, what a performance. Yeah. And that's where I think Emma Hayes' managerial skills really shine in this squad. And the players deserve credit too, because it can't be easy for them to be coming out, especially big name players that are on the bench a lot. But they come in and they just perform. And I think that's the standard that is set in this dressing room, though. We talk about it in the men's team a lot, about there being no standard bearers. There is an expectation in the women's team that if you're not playing, you just wait for your turn, and then when you get it, you take it. And that seems to be the standard that's set there, and that's why they're multiple time champions, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% agree. I can't say anything more than that. You've absolutely perfectly summed it up. We're going to raise a glass now to another international break. Right, look, we felt this would be a good topic, and shame that the other two guys aren't, but we're going to do our best here, and I know we will absolutely hit this at the park. let's have a look at an ongoing saga at Chelsea. It's not the stickers put on the Stamford Bridge this morning. This week is that's our new Banksy. Who is it? Who put them there? Do we know? Do you know? Ooh. This week, our focus sort of turns to the intriguing tale of Raheem Sterling, because let's be clear, this isn't going to be about casting blame. It's about dissecting the underlying reasons behind his decline. You know, he was heralded as one of the Premier League's brightest players during his tenure at Man City, and his journey since joining Chelsea it's not been smooth. And his City days were adorned with these incredible, outstanding performances and accolades, of course. But his time at Chelsea has been a bit fraught with just not meeting the expectations and just struggled to reclaim that former brilliance. And today we're going to try and uncover why behind this whole narrative. So I feel like it should be opened up. So I've got some questions prepped, but how about why do you believe Sterling's decline as a player since joining from City?
I don't think he has.
Oh, okay.
There's a hot take for you.
That is hot. That is a very hot take, very early on.
And I say that because I think the expectation from what I've seen and heard from the fans about Sterling is the expectation is of him that he should be the main guy. He should be the guy who is leading our attack, putting up the numbers, performing consistently week in, week out. While the other younger guys, obviously, we accept more inconsistency.
Okay.
My issue with that is Raheem Sterling has never been that player. When he was having his breakout seasons at Liverpool, he was not carried, but he was the third.
Yeah.
He was the third of the front three with Suarez and Sturridge. Everyone looked at Luis Suarez in that team to be the guy, and he was, to be fair. And then probably playing the backup role would have been Daniel Sturridge, and then Raheem Sterling was the up and comer at that time. He then goes to Manchester City. He was never the main guy at Man City. Never. In his entire spell there, he was never the guy who Man City looked to set the standard and win them games. He was always surrounded by better and world-class players. Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, David Silva, Yaya Toure, Aguero. Those was the guys who City fans and the manager would have looked to say, you're the people who carry us. And Sterling was just part of it. Even at England, everyone looks for Harry Kane. Harry Kane is the guy for England who should be leading us somewhere, not Sterling. And he never has been. So to now have that expectation for him to do that for this group, I just think is a little bit unrealistic. And I think you look at the way Sterling performed at Man City, and you look at the way a lot of other people have performed at Man City. It's very consistent.
Yeah.
They have an incredible manager. They have a very settled system. They have a clear identity, and he's surrounded by world-class players who, let's face it, made a lot of his goals and assists easy.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a good point, because look, when his transfer to Chelsea was announced, many fans, including myself, were absolutely thrilled and really had that sort of hype and excitement with what he could bring under obviously Tuchel. And after all, I mean, look, Sterling showcased that talent during, you said, Liverpool and at City. But I feel the doubts have now begun to creep in about his ability to lead the team. And probably because, unfortunately, he is one of the most experienced players in our 11, because for outfield players, only Silva is older than Sterling in this squad. And, of course, his minutes, in the sense, he's played a total of 468 games across both clubs. That's Liverpool and City. 154 goals, 120 assists. That's 274 goal contributions. Those are just wild numbers. And would you say, right, if someone said to me, has he declined? I'd say his numbers have, yes. But this is the thing. I'll touch on this in another question about the City thing, because you're damn right. That is a reason. And I feel it's not helped. Fans are sort of seeing him as a selfish player, prioritizing his own success, for example. I mean, there's moments that I know some fans will scream at me right now. Cole Palmer's penalty recently against Leicester, choosing to shoot instead of passing to Palmer or Jackson against Wolves. I mean, I think the thing is, this leads into the next question, but also touches back on what you just said about City and the world-class thing. The question I put was, do you believe that the chaos at Chelsea in the last 2 seasons is the main reason behind the performances? And for me, I feel that the changing of managers has been negative on his career, because at City, he knew Pellegrini for a season and then Guardiola for 6 solid seasons. At Chelsea, he's had 5 managers. He's had Tuchel, Potter, Bruno, Lampard, and now Poch. They're all going to have...
who have all asked him to play a different way.
100%. And all of, like you said, different approaches to, the tactic side, the relation side. I mean, we sound more like Watford than Chelsea when you just list off 5 managers in space of that time. And I think consistency benefits everyone. And I feel that even more so for Sterling, because then he knows his position in the team. He knows what's expected from the manager, what he can work on. And that's the thing. The chaos doesn't help. And you said earlier that you look at our tactical approach or style of play that we have. Does it suit Sterling's strengths and playing style? Well, I sort of see him as that fox in the box in a way, because he relies on the astute positioning that he can bring with his intelligence rather than being a creator or a playmaker. You look at Chelsea and City, what's the difference between the clubs? Well, their ability to generate attacking opportunities. You watch a City game, they boast easily double the number of chances created that we do. And how is it? It's not unsurprising that Sterling's statistics have just fell off a cliff, because he's lacking that support of the playmakers, the lack of creators. And Guardiola's system elevated Sterling to career best heights, but he was never integral to that team. He was just one of the parts. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you took out, I'm trying to think now in that City squad, Gundogan at Barcelona is not Gundogan at City. You can see how he's been elevated. Haaland's just Haaland. He's just, ridiculous. He'll score goals wherever he goes. But would Alvarez be as good? Would Grealish be as good? I think that's the argument, isn't it, really?
Yeah, of course it is. And, the thing is with Sterling, I understand what people are saying about the selfishness part, but I don't think people put enough stock now in the mentality of football and the mental side of it. And I think Sterling is a really good example of how important mentality is in football. I think now, with all the noise around him, and I think it was evident in the Leicester game, I think he's trying too hard to be that guy and to live up to people's expectations. So when people are saying he's being selfish, he is, because he's trying to prove to everyone that he can be that guy rather than just playing. So instead of squaring the ball for the simple tap-in, he feels as though he needs to be the one to score. Taking the penalty off Palmer, he felt as though I need to get a goal today to justify, whether it be his wages or the price tag or his standing in the squad, whatever. It seems to me now that his mentality is he's trying to prove a point. And when players are trying to prove a point, it goes one of 2 ways. Either it lights a fire inside them and you see really good form, or they overthink everything and their form drops off a cliff. And I think Sterling's going more the way of the second one. I think, you look at, of course his numbers have declined, but we haven't got Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva putting him on a plate for him to tap in.
No.
So of course his numbers are going to decline. If you took Haaland out of Man City right now and you put him in our team, he scores less goals.
Yes, 100%. I think that's fair.
Just a fact. Yeah. He scores less. He still scores because he's a freak, but he scores less. If you took him out, what did he get for City last season? 50 odd goals. If you put him in our team last season, he gets half that maximum. He gets half. So then everyone's talking about, well, why has Haaland's form declined since coming to Chelsea? You've got to look at the whole thing around Sterling. And, you know, he frustrates the life out of me, especially when I'm watching games. He really does. But for me, right now, as we sit here today, and if we had a game this weekend, there is no one better in our squad to play on that left-hand side.
I think that's a very fair assessment. I mean, I've got to ask it. Do you think a change in maybe for him in an environment or a different role within the team could reignite and make him the player we saw at City? Or is it just a case of he will never be that player at City because of everything in place at City versus everything not in place at Chelsea?
He'll never be the player that we saw at Man City, as a lot of Man City players, when they leave Man City, won't be. Because they're just a well-oiled machine and they function so well as a unit, and that gets the best out of each individual in it. Guardiola's the master at that. I think Poch has got to take some responsibility for this, because what I was just saying about Emma Hayes and what she does with players about taking them out the firing line, Poch should have done with Sterling a few weeks ago. As soon as the discontent started, take him out then. Take him out and see, because the thing is, it's a bit like the Nicholas Jackson situation. You don't know what you've got till it's gone.
We said that, didn't we, when AFCON was coming up?
Before, if you remember, right, the 2 games before he went to AFCON, he was public enemy number 1, Nicholas Jackson. Wasn't good enough, couldn't lead our line. What's he playing for? Got to get dropped, should never play again. Goes to AFCON, and all of a sudden everyone's like, yeah, what, we're really missing Jackson. And I think the same would have happened with Sterling. I think if you take him out, and no matter who you put on that left-hand side, it wouldn't have made any difference. Because let's face it, it would have either been Mudryk, who's probably one of the most inconsistent people I've ever seen. That's in a game, not in a season. Just from minute to minute, he's not consistent. Or it would have been Ben Chilwell, that everyone hates on the left, by the way. So I think if Poch had done that and he'd just been a bit smarter about it, I think people would have been saying, no, we need Sterling on the left. And then even if he'd come in and had a poor game, people would have gone, well, there's no one better, really. But everyone at the minute, I think, is living in the hope that, oh, Sterling's not good enough, and if we dropped him, Mudryk could be playing and he'd be really good there. And the reality is, and all the evidence points to the fact that no, he wouldn't. So I don't know. I don't think Poch has helped the situation. I think it's been poor management from his side.
I mean, I don't know. I feel that maybe based on everything that's going on, maybe seek a move to another club. Not because I want him to go. I'm just saying that for him, I mean, hey, he could go to the Bundesliga. He could stay in the Premier League, you know.
Oh, yeah. 100.
He won't join City, Liverpool or Arsenal. You know, Spurs could be a possibility, albeit, you know, not many take that direct bridge to Spurs from Chelsea, but I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for him personally, I don't think a move in the summer would be a negative thing.
It's the money, I think. His wages are the problem I think that upsets a lot of people.
I think as well, though, I do think, you know, let's say we sell him in the summer. Everyone, I say everyone, the people we're talking about, celebrate. And then we replace him with some 18-year-old who's never kicked a ball in professional football in his life, which is what we would do, by the way.
I can't imagine that. We'd go for experience, surely.
yeah, because we all know how much our ownership love experience.
Yeah,
we'd replace him with some wonder kid who would be inconsistent and on their bad days not get any numbers, you know, because Sterling still gets numbers even on his shit days. And I'm telling you now, within 8 weeks, people are going, oh, do you think we should have sold Sterling?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, that would happen, because if you was going to replace Sterling with, you know, someone in their prime, 26, 27, who's, you know, been consistent for a good number of years at another club, I'd say, yeah, go for it. But we won't. And the reality is, I'd rather stick with Sterling, who at least I know what I'm getting, than sell him and replace him with a completely unknown quantity that I just do not think would be good enough or anywhere near Sterling's level, especially in the shorter term.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, if he left, I could see him doing. Here's a wild one. He could do really well for Aston Villa under Emery. I could see it, and it'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
what we
he
do
would be
there.
good at Villa.
I mean, look, despite his imperfections, and we did say this at the start, we said it wouldn't be a bash because that's not fair on him. But despite all those imperfections, I feel it's challenging to identify any footballer right now with a greater mental fortitude, greater mental attitude. Because look at this. Look at the worst game of his Chelsea career, probably against Leicester, and yet he was determined to run. He was determined to put in that absolute beauty of a cross that resulted in Palmer's easy tapping.
Yeah.
So I think the one thing I will say is he cares. That's quite clear because look, we all get frustrated. We all get frustrated. Look, listeners, you get frustrated at your job. I know you do. We all do. Some days are better than others. Some days absolutely suck. But it's how I feel that we can all sort of resonate with, hey, look, he did try. He got an assist. It was an awful game, but he still got an assist. He's trying.
And the thing is, like, at the minute, I absolutely agree with people when they say that he is not justifying his wages, and he isn't. He's not justifying being on 300 grand a week, nowhere near. But that's not his fault that we decided to pay him 300 grand a week.
Yeah, right. I mean,
realistically, he wasn't worth that when we signed him. Even the Man City Sterling wasn't worth 300 grand a week. So that's our fault, really. That's not his fault. And I do think you are right about him. Like I said, frustrates the life out of me when I watch him. And there's a lot of flaws in his game, especially recently. I think they're getting worse, like I said, because I think he's overplaying now. He's trying to do too much almost when he should just do the minimum that his role requires. Like, don't put yourself forward for free kicks and penalties. Just shy away from that until you get some good form back. But he doesn't give up. I'd be more annoyed about someone collecting 300 grand a week who looks like they can't be asked and wants to sit on the bench. He wants to play.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I've seen other players at other clubs on more money who was quite happy just to sit there, not play, and pick up the pay packet. And Sterling's not one of them. And he does deserve some credit for that he is still willing to put himself in the team and say, no, I still want to play. And I just think he's become one of the, 2 months ago, it was Conor Gallagher, wasn't it? And then everyone sort of seems to have gone quiet on that now. So they've moved on to Sterling. Earlier in the season, it was Chilwell. From Sterling's point of view, you've just got to see the storm out, because there's no doubt the fans will turn on to someone else over the coming weeks.
Yeah, that always is that. Yeah, you're right. I can't disagree. I mean, we'll see. We'll see when we return from the international break how everything plays out. But
come at a good time for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure, because it will benefit. Hopefully, it will benefit him, and he'll bounce back because that experienced head. We need him. We need him to be back to some kind of good form.
What I would say is, sort of the last word on Sterling would be, if you're going to a game and you're booing him, you're not going to make it any better.
No.
Just as an experiment, let's try cheering him.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah,
let's just give it a go and see if it makes a difference. If it doesn't, then fine. You're entitled to your opinion. Go back to booing him. But let's just try as an experiment. Let's try supporting him, and let's see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, 100%. Right, we move in to Quaresma's questions to answer some listener questions. Got two, and I feel like I've already know what you're going to say to this, Chris.
Oh,
but
God.
Yeah, it'll be no and sold. Here we go. We'll try it. Julian's asked, would Rafa Varane be a good Thiago Silva replacement? Oh, you've taken time. I'm surprised. I thought it'd be quick. I thought it's his injury record that's a bit of an issue, isn't it?
Well, especially coming to us, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I mean, I've always had a standpoint on him anyway, that I've always thought he was overrated. Even when he was at Real Madrid, I thought he was overrated. Hasn't really pulled up any trees, has he, at Man United? Let's be fair. I just don't see what he adds. That because
experience.
yes, yeah, experience, but that hasn't helped United, has it? So
No, that's true.
I don't think he's ever been at Thiago Silva's level as a player. So obviously, what's carried Silva is, his level was so high that even into his older age, any decline, he was still going to be top class. I think with Varane, you're seeing now that his level was never actually that high, and now he's just sort of bang average. He's okay. He's not terrible, but he's not great either. So no.
That's fair. And to be fair, I agree with you. It's a no from me. I can't really argue anything else. I can't add to anything that you've just said, because it's exactly how I feel. Liz has asked, what do you think will happen with Conor Gallagher? New contract or sale?
Oh, he'll be sold.
I'm literally in agreement. I don't want that, but I feel that's what they're going to do.
No sane fan does, because, why would you? But we all know what they're going to do. They're going to sell him, and we're going to, despite the fact that we're saying that we can't afford to pay him 150 grand a week, we're going to sell him, and then we're going to replace him with Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle, who will be on more of a week than that. And then will probably turn out to be bang average. Because
you actually think we're going to sign in?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the sort of thing that we do. Say that we haven't got the money to give Gallagher a contract, and then go and pay 70 million for Bruno and put him on 250 grand a week.
Yeah. I mean, it's a worry. I mean, to say that nonsense that was, he's got to drop his wage demands or face being sold. That's a narrative pushed out by the club, clearly, because another ownership own goal, because we had Romano Fabrizio. He tweeted it out, and he said that, let me just pull the exact tweet up so I get the exact word in here. He said this morning, that's Thiago Silva. Come on. Really prepared on this show, aren't I? How many tweets does Fabrizio put out? Bloody hell.
Oh, every minute.
I honestly, I thought it was going to be 2 scrolls down, and it's not there. Where is it? I'm aware. There we go. I'm aware that there have been claims about Conor Gallagher's salary demands being a problem for Chelsea and holding up an agreement over a new contract. My understanding, however, is that it is not about Gallagher asking for crazy money or anything unreasonable for his new deal. What I'm told is that it's about Chelsea deciding what they want to do with Gallagher, and also taking into account the FFP situation. But saying that Gallagher is asking for too high salary is not accurate as far as I understand. No one is shocked by this.
No one. No, because all of the... See, I've seen some people liken it to the Mason Mount situation, but
it's very different.
There was, rumblings that Mason Mount did want stupid money.
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever said that Gallagher's wanted any more than 150 grand a week, which in today's market is about the going wage for someone who is a first teamer and has been captain multiple times.
Yeah.
If anything, I'd say that's probably slightly underpaid by Premier League standards. So he's not asking for any. He's not asking for the earth. He's asking for what his value is, and they're using it as an excuse to get rid of him because he's pure profit.
Yeah, you're right.
And that is why I really worry about us ever going anywhere, because what's going to happen what about if our player of the season every season turns out to be someone we could sell for pure profit? Is that what we're going to do every year then? We're just going to have someone perform really well and then sell them and then replace them with someone who might come in and do a better job, but realistically will probably come in and do a worse job.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I've heard people's opinion saying that Bruno Guimaraes is a better player than Gallagher. I think you can make an argument for and against that. But even if we say that's true, yeah, he can't replace Gallagher because Gallagher knows the club and Bruno doesn't.
No. exactly. It's just so foolish. And I mean, I'm sure the ownership will go, we've got Romeo Lavia. Yeah, but do we? I mean, it's not his fault, the poor lad. You know, he came one game and he got injured again, which isn't again his fault. But it's Gallagher. I think Gallagher could have the flu. He'd still play. He just seems to be that guy and he does more miles. He did more miles in that game that he had the flu than he's ever done before. He's just that kind of character. And, you know, you can't say.
And again,
I love him. I love it. It'd be a disaster for him to go.
I know what people are saying about having Lavia, and the idea was for Lavia to come in and play. But he's been injured,
Yeah.
you know,
He hasn't
always. Played. He's played like 13 minutes, one game, got injured again. And then you don't know what player you're getting back. We've all seen with Ben Chilwell how you don't always get the same player back after an injury. So you don't know what player we're going to get. And you don't know how good he was going to be in the first place. There is no evidence, no concrete evidence to suggest that Romeo Lavia will be a success at Chelsea. None. Absolutely zero results. Same with Nkunku. There is no concrete evidence because we haven't seen it. I tell you what I have seen. I have seen Conor Gallagher perform at a really high level 90% of our matches this season. That is concrete evidence that he can be a success here.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you would get rid of a dead cert for something that may or may not happen.
And if you want to be, listeners are going to hate me for this, but I'm going to scare you a bit. Do you want to know about players that never came back after they weren't the same after an injury? Eden Hazard. He was absolutely flawless at Chelsea. Went to Real Madrid. That one injury, never the same.
Exactly.
I know
happens all the time.
I know someone's going to say, "Did you just compare Romeo Lavia to Eden Hazard?" No, I'm saying the situation, injuries. I mean, you could also look. I mean, he's still bloody good, but Marco Reus. Oh, that poor guy. He would have been potentially a Ballon d'Or contender if injuries just hadn't kept hitting him, because he's bloody good in his prime. Look at some of the stuff he could do. And injuries can be absolutely, I was going to say a word that I can't think of, and it's nope, can't think of it. So someone's going to have to fill me in at home. But yeah, they can be absolutely destroying a career. They really can.
Yeah, Mario Götze.
Oh, yes. Oh,
he's
that's
another one.
Yeah. 100%.
Injuries just ruined his career.
Yeah. Right. There's no Lone Army carousel because there's no lads here. So
Although I do think I should win that
by default. we have got a Google Doc that's keeping track. So you know what? I'll pull it up even though they're not here, and I'll tell you, because we know who's where. But as it stands this year, Berth's got 6 wins. Ollie's got 4. You've got none. Ollie's the current reigning champion with a 1-game win streak.
Wow.
But when Berth wins, he always wins 2 weeks in a row. That's the consistent theme here. So there you go. We shall see. So, yes, we head into the international break, listeners. Enjoy the weekend. We will be back on Monday. We'll find something to discuss. I've wrote something in our little group chat that I've already forgot because I'm really prepared. But till then, enjoy yourself, treat yourself well, and that's us signing off.
You've been listening to At The Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram by searching for At The Bridge Pod. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leaving us a review is always appreciated.